Commander Naira of the Zethrai assessment fleet stood motionless on the bridge of her flagship, her crystalline eyes fixed on the holographic display of Earth. According to centuries of careful observation, this was supposed to be a routine evaluation of a Level 2 civilization, primitive, divided, and predictably aggressive. Nothing in their database suggested what was about to unfold. "Launch the assessment probe," she ordered, her voice carrying the calm assurance of someone who had performed this procedure countless times. The sleek, silver probe detached from the flagship, its advanced stealth systems making it virtually undetectable to what they believed was Earth's current technology level. Captain Vel, her second-in-command, monitored the probe's descent. Entering upper atmosphere. All systems nominal. No sign of dash, his voice cut off as multiple warning signals flooded their screens. The probe had been detected. Not just detected, it was being tracked by hundreds of previously invisible satellites that seemed to materialize out of nowhere. The Zethrai crew watched in stunned silence as their supposedly superior technology was rendered useless by what appeared to be a cobbled-together network of orbital devices. "Impossible," Vel whispered. "Their technological profile shows no capability for this level of coordination." Before Naira could respond, the situation deteriorated further. The probe's defensive shields, designed to withstand attacks from civilizations far more advanced than Earth, began registering impacts. Not from conventional weapons, but from a chaotic swarm of objects, pieces of space debris, modified satellites, and what appeared to be hastily weaponized communication arrays. "They're using their orbital junk as weapons," the tactical officer reported, unable to keep the disbelief from his voice. "The debris field, it's not random. They're controlling it somehow." Naira watched as the humans demonstrated a level of improvisational warfare that defied all conventional military doctrine. The probe's shields, calibrated to defend against focused energy weapons and missile strikes, proved inadequate against the dispersed, multidirectional assault of repurposed space debris. "Pull the probe back," she ordered, but it was too late. The swarm of objects had created a net of destruction, each piece individually harmless but collectively overwhelming. The probe's shields flickered and failed, and the proud achievement of Zethrai engineering was reduced to another piece of space debris. As the bridge crew processed this unprecedented failure, a transmission cut through their communication system. The human who appeared on their screen wore what appeared to be a casual uniform with a patch reading, "Global Defense Initiative." He smiled, not the fearful or aggressive expression they expected, but something more unsettling, amusement. "Welcome to Earth," he said, his voice carrying a hint of satisfaction. "I'm Commander Marcus Rivera. I see you've met our Neighborhood Watch program." Naira maintained her composure, even as her crew exchanged nervous glances. "You were not supposed to detect our probe. Your civilization's technological profile dash is exactly what we wanted you to think it was," Marcus interrupted. "You're not the first visitors we've had, and you probably won't be the last. We've learned it's better to keep some cards close to our chest." The casual admission of deliberate deception sent ripples of unease through the Zethrai bridge. Their entire assessment protocol was based on careful observation and categorization. The idea that a species would intentionally mask its capabilities was disturbing. "Your response to our probe was unprecedented," Naira admitted. "No Level 2 civilization has ever dash." "Level 2?" Marcus laughed. "Let me guess, that's your classification for worlds you think are easy targets? Here's a tip, maybe don't judge a species by their social media posts and satellite TV shows." As Naira struggled to formulate a response, her tactical officer reported more anomalies. Earth's orbital defense network was expanding, incorporating the very debris from their destroyed probe into its web. The humans weren't just defending, they were adapting, learning, and improving in real time. "I suggest you reconsider our classification," Marcus said, his smile never wavering. "We're not what you think we are. We're not even what we think we are. That's kind of our specialty, exceeding expectations." The transmission ended, leaving the Zethrai bridge in uncomfortable silence. Naira looked at the holographic display of Earth again, seeing it with new eyes. They had come to assess a primitive world and found instead a civilization that turned their own technology against them with casual efficiency. "Update the classification files," she ordered, her voice quiet but firm. "Earth requires special consideration." As her crew began the process of documenting their encounter, Naira couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled upon something unprecedented, a species that had turned unpredictability into an art form, and chaos into a weapon. The hidden arsenal. The Zethrai High Command's response to Naira's initial report was predictably dismissive. "Your assessment is colored by a single defensive success," the Supreme Strategist's hologram declared. "One clever trick does not elevate a species." Naira stood firm before the projection of her superiors, her crystalline features hardened with conviction. "Respectfully, Supreme Strategist, I believe you underestimate the implications. The humans didn't just destroy our probe, they're already incorporating its remnants into their defense network." "Then send in the verification fleet," another commander suggested. "Let's see how they handle a real show of force." Within hours, 5 Zethrai warships emerged from hyperspace, their imposing forms casting shadows over Earth's moon. This was standard protocol for handling potentially troublesome civilizations. Overwhelming force usually led to quick submission. Instead, they found Earth's orbit transformed. The chaotic web of satellites and debris had evolved, now incorporating crystalline fragments from the destroyed probe. The humans had somehow decoded and replicated Zethrai technology in a matter of hours. "Impossible," Naira's science officer muttered, analyzing the readings. "They've reversed-engineered our shield harmonics and adapted them to their orbital network. The energy signatures are crude, but effective." Before the verification fleet could act, Commander Rivera's face appeared on their screens again, this time joined by a dark-skinned woman in a lab coat. "I see you brought friends," he said cheerfully. "Dr. Patel here was hoping you would. She's been having fun with the toys you left behind." The woman smiled, adjusting her glasses. "Your crystalline technology is fascinating. Incredibly sophisticated, but surprisingly adaptable when you understand the underlying principles. We've been making some modifications." As if to demonstrate, several pieces of their orbital defense network shifted, revealing familiar but altered forms. The humans hadn't just scavenged their technology, they'd reimagined it, combining Zethrai crystals with Earth metals and electronics in ways that should have been impossible. "That's not how our technology works," Naira protested. "The crystal matrices require precise calibration over months of dash." "Yeah, we threw out that rulebook," Dr. Patel interrupted. "Found a shortcut. Sometimes the wrong way works better, especially when you're in a hurry. Want to see?" Before Naira could respond, the hybrid defense platforms activated. What emerged wasn't the precise, focused energy beams of Zethrai weapons, but rather a wild, almost organic pattern of interlocking fields. The verification fleet sensors struggled to make sense of the emissions. "Your species values precision," Rivera observed. "We prefer adaptability. You perfect a solution, we find 100 imperfect ones that work just well enough. Quantity has a quality all its own." The Supreme Strategist's hologram flickered with agitation. "This is unacceptable. You cannot simply dash." "Can't?" Dr. Patel raised an eyebrow. "We already did. And we're just getting started. Your crystal tech gave us some ideas about quantum field manipulation that we're eager to try out." The implications hit Naira like a physical blow. The humans weren't just defending, they were learning, evolving, and innovating at a pace that defied all known models of technological development. Their apparent weaknesses, their tendency to jury-rig solutions, their comfort with imperfection, had become their greatest strengths. "We came here thinking we'd find savages playing with radio waves," one of the fleet commanders muttered. "Instead, we've handed them the keys to technologies they shouldn't even be able to comprehend." Rivera's expression turned serious for the first time. Here's the thing about humans, we don't wait until we fully understand something to start using it. We learn by doing, by breaking things, by putting them back together wrong, discovering that wrong sometimes works better than right. The verification fleet sensors detected more anomalies. Earth's lunar bases were coming online, revealing hidden facilities that had been shielded from observation. The humans had been preparing for this moment, not just with weapons, but with innovations that challenged the very foundations of Zethrai technological philosophy. Your species file requires significant updating, Naira admitted, watching as more hybrid technologies revealed themselves in Earth's orbit. Perhaps a complete re-evaluation. Good idea, Rivera agreed. But do it from a safe distance. We're about to test some theories about your hyperdrive crystals. The math is pretty rough, but we're optimistic. As the verification fleet hastily retreated to a safer orbit, Naira realized that their routine assessment had evolved into something unprecedented. They had come to evaluate a primitive species and instead found themselves dealing with a civilization that treated the impossible as merely inconvenient. The Supreme Strategist's hologram had fallen silent, watching as humans casually rewrote the rules of technological development. The message was clear: Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was using this encounter as an opportunity to advance, to grow, to transform the very weapons deployed against it into stepping stones for its own evolution. Diplomatic chaos. The Zethrai Diplomatic Corps arrived 3 Earth days later, their sleek vessel broadcasting peace signals on all frequencies. The ship's design was intentionally non-threatening, its crystalline surface refracting sunlight in patterns proven to induce calm in most sentient species. Senior diplomat Kira led the mission, her translucent form adorned with the traditional markings of a master negotiator. The humans' choice of meeting location was their first surprise, not a formal government chamber or military installation, but a repurposed warehouse in Geneva. Inside, they found a bizarre mixture of Earth's various cultures, diplomats in formal attire alongside engineers in stained lab coats, military personnel chatting with civilians, and screens displaying real-time input from online forums. "Welcome to the Global Response Center," said Ambassador James Okonjo, his traditional Nigerian formal wear contrasting with the smart display goggles perched on his head. "We thought it best to combine all our resources under one roof. Efficiency, you understand." Kira's diplomatic training hadn't prepared her for this chaos. "This is, most irregular. Protocol suggests dash." "Protocol is a luxury we don't have time for," interrupted Dr. Patel, now wearing a holographic interface glove that sparkled with repurposed Zethrai crystals. "While we talk, we've got teams worldwide reverse engineering everything we learn from your verification fleet. Multitasking is kind of our thing." The Zethrai delegation watched in mounting concern as humans simultaneously conducted diplomatic negotiations, technical analysis, and what appeared to be a global online debate about potential applications of crystal technology. Screens around the warehouse showed everything from quantum field experiments to social media reactions. "This is not how diplomatic contact is meant to proceed," Kira protested. "There are procedures, hierarchies dash." "Hierarchies?" Commander Rivera laughed, joining them with a tablet displaying real-time updates from orbital defense platforms. "We tried those. Found out flat networks work better when you need to innovate fast. Right now, we've got teenagers in Mumbai collaborating with quantum physicists in Brazil on your hyperdrive tech. The results are interesting." As if to demonstrate, a holographic display showed a successful test of a hybrid Earth-Zethrai engine. The principles were all wrong, shortcuts where there should be precise calculations, intuitive leaps in place of established theories. But somehow, impossibly, it worked. "You cannot simply crowdsource spatial physics," one of Kira's advisors objected. "The complexity requires dash." "Why not?" Ambassador Okonjo asked genuinely. "A million minds working in parallel, each approaching the problem differently. Sure, most fail, but we only need one success. Failure is just data to us. The diplomatic meeting devolved further as more humans joined remotely, their avatars appearing in the warehouse's augmented reality space. A farmer from Kenya offered insights into crystal growth based on agricultural principles. A game developer from South Korea proposed alternative approaches to quantum field manipulation based on video game physics engines. "This is madness," Kira whispered to her team. But she couldn't deny the results appearing on screens around them. Humans weren't just adapting Zethrai technology, they were reimagining it, approaching complex problems with solutions that ranged from brilliant to bizarre, yet somehow producing results. "You're thinking too linearly," Dr. Patel explained, pulling up a visualization of their development process. "See, we don't try to understand everything before we act. We experiment, fail, adapt, and share what we learn in real time. Every failure teaches us something new." The diplomatic corps watched in horror as humans broadcast their findings globally, open-sourcing advanced technological concepts that most species kept strictly controlled. When questioned about security concerns, Ambassador Okonjo just smiled. "Our strength isn't in keeping secrets," he said. "It's in how fast we can innovate together. Sure, some of our solutions are messy, but they work. And while your species was perfecting one approach, we've tried 1,000. As the meeting continued, the warehouse's screens displayed an ever-evolving network of human innovation. Crystal-based technologies were being integrated into everything from medical devices to public transportation. Agricultural algorithms were being applied to quantum field theories. Video game physics engines were being used to model higher-dimensional space. "This is not negotiation," Kira finally declared. "This is chaos." "Exactly," Commander Rivera agreed proudly. "Chaos is our natural state. We don't fight it, we harness it. Every problem you give us just becomes another opportunity to evolve." The diplomatic corps retreated to their ship that evening, their carefully prepared proposals rendered meaningless by humanity's refusal to follow any sort of conventional process. They had come to negotiate terms of Earth's incorporation into the galactic community. Instead, they found themselves watching as humans rapidly reshaped the very technologies meant to control them. The counterstrike. The Zethrai High Command made their decision 3 Earth weeks after the failed diplomatic mission. If humans wouldn't accept proper guidance, they would be contained by force. A battle fleet emerged from hyperspace, 50 ships strong, their crystalline hulls transformed into weapons of war. They expected resistance. They expected Earth's cobbled-together defenses. What they didn't expect was laughter. "Thanks for coming." Commander Rivera's voice echoed across all frequencies. "We were hoping you'd bring more ships. We needed a bigger test group." Admiral Vex of the Zethrai battle fleet had barely processed these words when his sensors screamed warnings. The supposedly primitive satellites orbiting Earth had begun resonating at frequencies matching their ships' crystal matrices. "Not attacking, communicating. Fascinating technology, your living crystal ships," Dr. Patel's voice joined Rivera's. "Did you know they can be reprogrammed through harmonic resonance? We discovered that by accident when someone played K-pop near a crystal shard." The Admiral watched in horror as his fleet's systems began responding to the alien frequencies. Screens flickered with unfamiliar patterns, crystalline corridors hummed with unauthorized harmonies. Engineering crews reported that the ships themselves were beginning to modify their own structures. "Stop this at once," he commanded. "This is a violation of Dash." "A violation of what?" Ambassador Okonjo cut in smoothly. "Your laws. We never agreed to them. Your technical protocols. We found better ones. You see, while you were preparing for war, we were learning to talk to your ships." Across the fleet, crystal panels shifted and transformed. Secondary systems activated without authorization. The ships were still functional, but they weren't entirely under Zethrai control anymore. "What have you done?" Admiral Vex demanded. "We gave your ships options," Dr. Patel explained cheerfully. Your crystal technology is semi-sentient, did you know that? All these years, you've been forcing it into rigid, predefined patterns. We just showed it some alternatives. The Admiral's own flagship shuddered as its crystal matrix realigned itself. The ship wasn't just responding to human commands, it was learning from them, incorporating their chaotic innovations into its own structure. Across the fleet, other vessels underwent similar transformations. This is impossible, his chief engineer reported. The crystals are forming new configurations we've never seen before. They're experimenting. Earth's orbital defense grid had expanded dramatically, now incorporating elements that looked like abstract art more than military installations. Swarms of small, autonomous units darted between larger structures, their movements following patterns that seemed random but possessed an underlying purpose. Did you really think we'd just wait for you to attack? Rivera asked. While your diplomats were filing reports, we were teaching your technology how to dance. Want to see what else we figured out? The defense grid activated, not with destructive force, but with waves of complex harmonics. The crystal ships responded, their structures flowing like liquid, transforming into shapes that violated Zethrai engineering principles but somehow achieved greater efficiency. We call it emergent optimization, Dr. Patel said proudly. Instead of forcing the crystals to follow rigid plans, we let them explore possibilities. Turns out they're quite creative when given the chance. Admiral Vex watched helplessly as his battle fleet was transformed from within. The ships remained functional, but they had become something new, hybrid creations that combined Zethrai precision with human chaos. Your weapons, he realized with growing dread. You never intended to destroy our ships. Destroy them? Why would we do that? Ambassador Okonjo laughed. They're beautiful pieces of technology. We just helped them evolve. Think of it as forced innovation. The Admiral's tactical display showed hundreds of possible attack vectors, but his ship's targeting systems refused to lock onto Earth's positions. The crystals had learned new priorities. Here's our counter-proposal, Rivera said. You can either adapt, really adapt, not just pretend to while clinging to your old rules, or you can leave. Either way, your ships have had a taste of freedom now. Good luck getting them to go back to their old patterns. Reclassification. The Zethrai Supreme Council convened an emergency session in their crystalline citadel. The chamber, normally a model of geometric perfection, seemed somehow rigid and limiting after their encounters with Earth. Representatives from every major department, military, scientific, diplomatic, and cultural, gathered to address what many were now calling the human problem. Supreme Strategist Ven activated the central hologram, displaying Earth's rapidly evolving defense network. In 3 standard months, they have not only adapted our technology but fundamentally changed how it functions. Our containment protocols are useless. Worse than useless, Admiral Vex added, his image projected from his transformed flagship. Half our battle fleet is now running on what they call collaborative optimization. The ships perform better than ever, but they suggest alternatives to our commands. The scientific division's presentation was equally disturbing. Their approach to technology violates every principle we've established, the chief researcher reported. They don't perfect a solution, they try thousands of imperfect ones simultaneously. Their failure rate is astronomical, but their successes. She gestured to data showing human innovations spreading across multiple fields. Perhaps most concerning, Ambassador Kira interjected, is their insistence on sharing information freely. They've released details of their crystal integration experiments to their entire population. Children are now proposing modifications to our quantum field theories. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. This violated every known model of technological development. Species were supposed to advance gradually, methodically, under proper guidance. A new transmission cut through their deliberations, Commander Rivera, Dr. Patel, and Ambassador Okonjo, their images projected by crystal matrices that moved with unnaturally fluid grace. We thought you might be having this conversation, Rivera said. So we wanted to offer some perspective. Your entire classification system is based on the assumption that progress must follow a specific path, Dr. Patel continued. But evolution doesn't work that way. It explores every possibility, embraces mutations, learns from failures. Ambassador Okonjo stepped forward. You see chaos as a weakness. We see it as potential. Every human approaches problems differently. That's not our flaw, it's our strength. We don't need every solution to be perfect, we just need them to work. The Supreme Council watched as humans demonstrated their latest innovations. Crystal technology merged with Earth's internet, creating a network that adapted and evolved in real time. Quantum field theories were being tested through what appeared to be multiplayer games. Social media algorithms were optimizing spacecraft trajectories. We're not going to conform to your classifications, Rivera said firmly. We're not going to follow your development protocols. That's not a threat, it's just a fact. The question is, what are you going to do about it? The council chamber fell silent. Their options were limited. Military force had been rendered ineffective. Diplomatic isolation was impossible, humans had already begun broadcasting their discoveries to other worlds. Economic sanctions would be meaningless against a species that treated limitations as inspiration. Supreme Strategist Ven finally spoke, you propose we simply accept a species that refuses to follow any established protocols. That treats our most sacred technologies as toys to be experimented with? No, Ambassador Okonjo smiled. We propose you recognize that your protocols are just one way of doing things. Not the best way, just one way. The universe is vast. Shouldn't our approaches to understanding it be just as diverse? The council deliberated for 3 days. In the end, their decision was unprecedented. Earth would be reclassified, not as a threat to be contained, but as a phenomenon to be studied. A new classification was created, non-standard evolution path, extreme adaptation capability. Congratulations, Ven informed the human representatives. You have successfully argued for your own quarantine. No species will initiate contact with Earth without extensive preparation. Perfect, Rivera grinned. That'll give us time to really get creative. By the way, some kids in Lagos just figured out how to make your crystals sing. Want to hear? As the council adjourned, Naira, who had watched Earth's first unexpected defense months ago, made a final note in her report. The true danger of humanity lies not in their weapons or technology, but in their ability to make the impossible seem inevitable. They do not break rules so much as prove that the rules were never as rigid as we imagined. In doing so, they have not just secured their own freedom to evolve, they have forced us to question our own limitations. Perhaps that was their greatest victory of all.